everybody. So, it's a normal thing that everybody's always got questions about verb tenses, and especially when they have to use specific terms when they're talking about the past. Today what I'd like to do is create a video that explains a couple of key concepts about the idea of past simple. And as you're listening to this, I want to fixate on the simple past, a simple part of past simple, because there are three reasons why it's called past simple. Okay? The first reason is that it's simple because the sounds are very similar to the present simple and the infinitive. So that means that it's actually easy to formulate. It's not like in other languages, like French or in Spanish, where you have to memorize 6 to 8 different words depending on the context and whether it's singular or plural. No, it's a lot easier than that. With irregular verbs, and this is going to be useful for those of you who hate memorizing lists of irregular verbs. If you think about it, most irregular verbs are only one syllable. And in those one syllable words, there's usually just a change in one of the sounds of the infinitive to create the past simple. Think of examples like eat or drink, for example. Both of those are irregular because what I do with eat, I change the vowel sound, ate. I make it shorter and I make it lower. And it's the same thing with drink, drank. The basic word stays the same. The only difference is the sound of the vowel changes. And there are some other small exceptions as well. You might have the infinitive and the present simple and the past simple are all the same word. Cut, let, and put are the examples everyone thinks of. Okay? So that's one thing to remember. With irregular past simple, all it is most of the time is just a change in the sound. And also, don't forget, if you have problems remembering which verbs are irregular, think of it this way. Irregular past simple typically describes the stuff you do on an everyday basis. If you did it yesterday and you do it every day, it's probably an irregular verb. Compare that to regular verbs, however. Regular verbs are simple because all you have to do is add an ed ending, an ed suffix, to the end of the infinitive. Okay? Again, it's not like in French or Spanish or Russian where you have to memorize a whole bunch of different words. First person singular, second person plural. It's the same word for everybody. Paint, study, remember, ask, it's all the same word. Paint, painted. I painted, you painted, they painted. We studied, you studied, she studied. They remembered, I remembered, we remembered. They asked, she asked, you asked. Again, it doesn't matter who the person is or how many people there are. The past simple is just the infinitive with an ed at the end. The second reason why past simple is that it's the normal tense we always use when we're talking about past events. And here's a rule to remember. Unless there is some clear indication in the sentence, such as an adverb like since or for, unless you have a clear indication that the action is connected to the present or that it could happen again, and most times it doesn't, if you don't have that clear time marker, automatically use past simple. Okay? This is why the difference between pretérito perfecto and present simple is a little bit confusing. Okay? If I'm talking about the past, I'm talking usually about, with past simple, about things that started in the past, finished in the past, won't occur again, and don't have a connection to now. So if I say Elvis died in 1977, that's finished time and finished action. But if I say since 1977, I'm not talking about finished time because 1977 was the beginning point until now. That's why it's called present perfect in English. Technically, it's a present tense, it's not a past tense. And that leads me into the third point. Okay, finished time, finished action, it's past simple. So this is going to be a rule to remember anytime you're talking about historical events, fiction that's set in the past, wars in the past, people who died in the past. Most of those contexts you will see past simple. Finished time, finished action, it's simple, past simple. Why? Because there's no connection to now. And that's the key to ask yourself. If you're not sure if it's present perfect simple or past simple, ask yourself if there's a connection to now. So for example, if today is Wednesday and I say, I have seen my grandmother this weekend, that's technically incorrect. Why? Because if it's Wednesday, this past weekend is finished time. I saw my grandmother this past weekend. Finished time, finished action, no clear context in that sentence that it's going to happen again, past simple. So remember, to review, here are the 3 rules. This is how you know that past simple is simple. Because, number 1, the words do not change that much from the infinitive. They're not all that different from the infinitive. Second reason, it's the normal tense you use to talk about past activity as long as there's no other indication in the sentence that there should be a different time used. And if the time is finished and the action is finished, you use past simple. So, I hope that clears up a couple of questions that you might have. As always, if you have any questions or you're just curious about resources and information about learning English, visit the blog at www.stop-spanish.blogspot.com. And if you're looking for more information about taking an English class, please visit the web at stopspanglish.com.